about, why we'll go to that first. Roy?
What? Doesn't matter to me. It's your show, Don. Tell me what you want.
To me, I've got to be honest with you. I didn't see that much of it. I was watching baseball primarily, and the part I did see I came in about 58 or 60 minutes of the second half, and it was very unimpressive to me. I know it's a big event around the world, and certainly in Spain it was a gigantic event. But I got to be honest with you, I had a very tough time watching 10 or 15 minutes of that game.
Oh, you're talking about the World Cup championship game?
Yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, I'll say this: if you're comparing it to the game, to the bronze medal game, and maybe nothing will compare to that. That game was absolutely special. France basically spotting 4 goals and then making an incredible comeback before against England, just trying. Almost won the game. It was just fabulous, tremendous soccer throughout. But I thought the championship game was very good. I really enjoyed it. Tactically, here's the thing: you got to remember. We all know this. Defense wins championships. When it comes down to winning a championship, you're not playing for show. You're not trying to draw fans. You're trying to win, and that means playing defense. And in soccer, you can absolutely shut teams down if you got a good game plan, a good strategy, and it's executed properly. So, I think tactical. People who know the tactics behind soccer would probably love the game. I don't, but I still liked it. I thought it was a great game. I thought it was really well played on both sides. You just kind of figured Messi at some point was going to create some issues, and he did. At the end of the day, but not enough. And so I thought it was a great game, really. And I was kind of rooting for Spain. I was happy to see them win. And, I thought it was a great cap-off to the whole weekend to me was a great cap-off to what had been a tremendous, tremendous tournament all the way through. A lot of great games, in my opinion.
Well, not only a tremendous benefit to the United States. I mean, it's the billions and billions of dollars that it created, spending-wise, for people all around the country. And I'm talking about from small towns like Kansas City, right up to MetLife in New York City for the championship game. You can't take anything away from what happened there. But at the same time, I find it very difficult watching a game and being, better than halfway through the second half, and the one team has had no shots on goal, 0 for 8. It seems to me, and I agree with you, defense always wins in most cases, all sports. Roger, I know you watched it as well, and your observations.
I did. I watched the entire game, the pregame, the halftime, the postgame, and also the halftime show, which I thought was terrific. And I think it's a shame that the NFL doesn't follow and do I may, be at disagreement here, but I think it was very well done. I know they're complaining that it was too long. They're just not used to having a 30-minute intermission. But hey, listen, they do it at the end at the Super Bowl every year. It's a lot longer than 30 minutes. And I think bringing the Muppets into it, I think really added. I think that is attractive to kids, and there were a lot of young people because they play youth soccer that were watching the game and talking about it in school. So that's the way I feel. It was a defensive game. Messi took a lot of heat about it. He just seemed to light it up in the second half. That's a matter of opinion. All I know is that it was a defensive struggle. I would like to have seen some more offense, but I thought the presentation and everything was tremendous.
Well, let's cover that for me. Let's get back to baseball now momentarily, and we see the Red Sox now. I see they really struggled, and all of a sudden they won 15 in a row, franchise record, winning the first game this afternoon, and they had another game tonight. Your comments on that one first, Roy, on American League East to the Red Sox, the Yankees, and where we stand there. And, of course, your Rays.
Yeah, well, it just kind of goes to show you that, in baseball, you're never really out of it. I mean, if you're 10-plus games out around the All-Star break, yeah, you can say you're done. But if that happens around, still in the springtime, you can certainly come back. And that's exactly what the Red Sox are doing. They're a team to be reckoned with all of a sudden again. So, I think it's great. They're playing great baseball. And look, I don't think anybody should be surprised. I mean, this is a team that you look at this team that's got really good young players. They've turned the corner from the Xander Bogaerts and the Rafael Devers types. And, now they're out there with Duran and then some of these other guys. And they're a good baseball team, just a darn good baseball team. And it's coming to fruition. Here they are 6 games out from the Rays. Just about 3.5, 4 or 5 games away from the Yankees now, and they're making some noise. So it's going to be a 3-team race down the stretch, I think, obviously with these teams, because the Red Sox are a team that will go out there, and if they feel there's a piece of two that they need, they'll make that deal. They will, and they've got the prospects to make it work. So I think it'll be a great finish in the East. I think it's really a question of, can the Rays hold on? Can they hang on? The Red Sox, as I just said, and the Yankees both, they're going to do what they have to do to get better before the trade deadline. The Rays don't really have, wherewithal to do that. They can't add a lot of salary. They can't really add a big piece. They can add a piece or two, but usually it'll be someone that flies under the radar more than anything. Not somebody that you're going to make a lot of noise. But once they put on that Rays uniform, they do tend to make some noise, as we see with just about everybody. I mean, you look at, guys like Drew Rasmussen and Nick Martinez. These were, third, fourth starters on the teams that they were on before they came to Tampa. And here they are, all-star caliber players. And same with their closer, Brian Baker. I mean, these are guys that just, some of them just pulled off the scrap heap, and the Rays find a way to make it work. So can the Rays hold on? We'll see. But it's going to be a great stretch run for sure these last few months.
And I think some of the Yanks going to have to make some changes because Zigwood tonight, Freed's going to get his first start coming back from the IL. So we'll see what happens there. They need pitching, no question about it. They also need a lot more offense players. They really expected to do a lot more with the idea that Judge now may not be able to play for another 6 to 8 weeks if he can play then. But the interesting part was the Yanks dropped behind 3-0, came back to tie 3-3, Roger, and then lost the game by a score of 5-3. So the Yanks find themselves going into tonight's game with Fried with an idea that they have better win some games.
Well, they have to, and then you watch the All-Star game, and even Big Papi predicts that the Yankees will win the American League pennant, and maybe even the World Series. I doubt that against the Dodgers, but I congratulate. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people that are very happy because the Red Sox. That's unbelievable the way they turned it around. I mean, that doesn't happen that often. And what is it, 15 in a row, right?
Yeah, 15.
That they've won, yeah. So it's really good. I just wanted to say one thing about the Phillies-Dodgers game last night. That was unbelievable that Realmuto goofed up and didn't realize what he should have done. A guy with his experience, if he had just stayed at third base, they would have had a chance to tie it up and maybe win the game. And
I was holding off a little bit on that, Roger. I'll come right back to you on it, but I don't know whether I will ask Roy if he had seen the play as well. They showed it 150 times today and last night on ESPN and everywhere else. Roy, did you have a chance to see the play at home plate at third base?
No, I didn't, but I can probably call it up real quick. I mean, I can find it. Somebody describe it. What happened?
Well, what it was that Realmuto was the second and the kid, the center fielder was at third. And then it was a shot to
Crawford was a pinch runner.
Yeah, Crawford. Yeah, Justin Crawford was pinch runner at third. So Crawford makes a dash for home plate, and then he gets caught in a rundown. And instead of staying on third base, so there would only be one out, Roy, Realmuto goes back to second, gets thrown out, going back to second, game over.
Let me just hold a minute, Roy. Let me just redefine that a little bit, because what happened was, and I tell you, the post-game show was done really terrifically by Mattingly, and also by the broadcaster for the Phillies. When they went back to the start of the game show, they talked about what happened during that play, and the one thing that they didn't wait on was they didn't wait on the fact to see whether it was a contact play or whether it was a non-contact play. So they didn't know how to analyze the play until they had the result. And everybody analyzed the whole thing. And then Mattingly came on the postgame show and said, no, that was a contact play from the beginning. Crawford was supposed to run. Now, Roger, you can go back to where they were.
Yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Roy.
Go ahead, Roy.
Well, I've seen the play, and yeah, you can tell right away that it's a contact play, because Crawford bolts for home as soon as the ball's hit. Now, what you do in that situation as a smart base runner is you definitely try to get in when you know you're out. In that case, in which Crawford clearly thinks, okay, I'm caught here, I'm caught in the middle. You have to stay in that rundown as long as you can, which he did. And Realmuto did what he was supposed to do initially, which is get to third base and keep that alive. But then Realmuto, why he went back to second, I'm sure it's, mentioned somewhere. I'm sure he had a comment about it. But, as he said, just a bad base runner. Yeah, he just looked like he had a brain cramp. And you know what? They're humans. It happens.
Yeah.
But, it's unfortunate. But look, the Phillies are 3 games out. You know how I feel about the Phillies guys. One of the strongest teams in baseball. They'll be there at the end. They'll be in the wild card at least if they don't win the division, and they'll be just fine. Look, JT Realmuto, he's taken a step. A year ago, I was clearly defending the guy. It's hard to defend him now. He's clearly taken a step back. His bat's slowed a bit. He's not as effective as he used to be. Still one of the better, even despite what happened yesterday. He's still one of the better base runners among catchers in baseball, at least speed-wise, and he can still steal you a base. In this case, he took one away from his team, but those are tough plays. That contact play, I'll tell you what, you'll find as many managers who hate it as much as they love it. Just because as soon as the ball's hit, the ball, you're supposed to go. And sometimes that's not the best thing to do. Sometimes it's better just to, just stay put. Let the third baseman, in this case, throw the runner out and keep your second and third situation. And so, I'm not so sure that, this maybe just wasn't just something born of the fact that they had the contact play on, and that in a lot of cases, especially with the defense that we see today, guys, a lot of cases it doesn't work. I think that's something you'll start to see managers maybe tinker with a little bit. Start to play with. It's like, you know what? Maybe we're not going to run this contact play so quickly because, again, at third base, you've got a much better. Certainly, if you sit there and watch the ball go through, you're better off. If you wait until the throw is made, you might still be better off. So I'm not sure it's. I'm not saying this one's on the manager at all. It's certainly on Realmuto, but not always a big fan of the contact play, guys.
Well, Muncy won the ball game twice. Once he hit the home run, which put the Dodgers at 2-1 against Wheeler. Wheeler had another great outing. Again, the Dodgers have beaten them twice, but beaten them in very unfortunate situations like last night. So he's now 10-2 rather than 11-1 or whatever. But anyway, getting back to the play, Marsh was the one that hit the ball, and 2 things that they also brought up was where Muncy was playing. Muncy was playing just off third base, a left-handed batter. So they first of all gave the credit to whoever the defensive decision maker was for the Dodgers. That once he was playing where he was playing, not playing at third base, not playing full to the right side because Marsh is pretty much a definitely full hitter. He wasn't. He was right there even with the bag. So when he hit the ball and scribbled down the third base line, once he was right there to pick it up and throw it home. Secondly, Crawford, as Roger said, Crawford didn't make the decision to keep going and then to play. Thirdly, they would have wound up with Realmuto on third base and Marshall on second. They still would have had the tying run and winning run on base with 2 outs. And neither one of them was in the right place. So all in all, the whole player blew up except for the Dodgers. They played it right.
Well, and the Phillies did hit. I mean, they could have got, if they had gotten some runs for Wheeler, would have been different. The other thing I have to say about Crawford, they're starting to utilize his speed, and he's really fast, and he's shown that. And a lot of people think he's going to wind up being the leadoff hitter before the end of the year. But I saw him in a game the other day. Maybe you saw it too, Don. He stole second, and then he stole third, all in the with the same sequence.
Right.
And then he scored. Okay. Whereas they may not have had any runs if it was just a normal runner. But they're utilizing his speed, and I give him a lot of credit. Those things happen, and what are you going to do? Let's move on. Nola did not get hit with a home run in the first inning. Last I looked, Phillies were up. Bone hit a 2-run homer. So they have a chance to get 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers.
Yeah, he had 3 hits last night. He was in a position to really, help the Phillies last night. He's improved offensively a little bit over the last couple of weeks. The other game I want to talk about was the game on Sunday with the Pirates. Whether or not any of you had a chance to see that one as well. Line drive single to center field. I can't think who was on second base. Rice was on first base. Line drive single to center field. And by the time the Pirates finished with the play, Rice scored. First of all, they bobbled the ball in center field. Then he threw the ball into the ground, and it bounced away from the second baseman. He threw the ball about 10 feet in front of him into the ground, and Price scored all the way from first base on a ball that wasn't hit 180 feet into center field. Another one of today's games where you just got to wonder what's going on here with the way these guys are playing baseball.
Again, they're human beings, guys, and they don't make the play every time. Sometimes a lot of strange things happen. I think that's part of the beauty of the game, is the fact that, I was watching the British Open, the Open as they call it, on Sunday, and saw a lot of the best players in the game, including Scotty Scheffler, hit the ball into the friggin' woods, man. So it happens.
I'm with you, Roy. The woods.
And Don, with all due respect, you get the name of the show wrong every Wednesday night. So we all make mistakes. So the fact that, but I'm glad you mentioned Bryce, because you were talking about the Yankees and their ability to catch the Rays or they'll probably be in the playoffs as well, one way or another. But Ben Rice he's got 30 homers now. So that kid's really made up for the fact that they don't have Aaron Judge. That's a power source they didn't really expect. So that's helping the Yankees. This I know goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Not to backtrack, but still, the Yankees, they're getting some unexpected power. And also, there's been a bit of a renaissance for Paul Goldschmidt. He's hitting 260, which we're used to seeing Paul Goldschmidt hit 280 or better. But he's also got 15 homers, and we're only halfway through the season. So he's having a nice season too. So I think, despite the fact that they're hurting, no Judge, no Stanton, I think that the Yankees still have a lot of firepower, and that's one thing I want to say. And the other thing, going back to the play from last night, one more thing. Dave Roberts was asked during the All-Star break, at the All-Star game, I think it was. Who's the one player on the Yankees that nobody talks enough about? And you know who he said? You know who he mentioned? Max Muncy. And he said that guy is there every day, one way or another, with a big hit, a big play defensively. And here he was again. One of the more on a team full of superstars. Here's this one. You could call him a star if you follow the game because he's as good a power hitter as there is, and he's as good a third baseman as there is. And here he is making a great play. And Roger, to the point you made about utilizing Crawford's speed. He comes by it naturally. Obviously, he's Carl Crawford's son.
Right.
I am glad that they're starting to make use of that speed a little bit more. But one thing the Phillies are not going to do a lot of, they're not going to steal a lot of bases, simply because they've got so many power hitters. You don't want to, have Schwarber up the bat, Crawford on first, with 2 out, and then have Crawford, try to steal second base with Schwarber, possibly.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, bud, how you doing?
Oh, doing great.
Good. I'm going to hook you right in. We're just finishing up with Roy.
Okay.
Joe can run. They got a lot of that ability, but sometimes I think they probably just lay off because look, we got you got great power hitters throughout. If Marsh is hitting for power the way he has this year, well, you don't want to take runners off the base ahead of these guys.
Who's your buddy?
And the other thing, fellas, is when you talk about the Dodgers, you're talking about the team that has come from behind in more games than any team in the National League. They've got so many ways that they can beat you, not only with great pitching, not only with a super bullpen, not only with base stealing, but they make great plays in the field, like the play last night where they made the play at second base to create the double play. I mean, in most cases, that ball, once they got the out at third base with Crawford, they would have just said, okay, that's it, and would have left it there with, Realmuto on second base and Marsh on first. That's not the way the Dodgers play. They throw them out at second base. They continue to play, and that's what you like to see. You like to see them execute the way the game is supposed to be played, Roger.
Yeah, well, fundamentals. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and Don, Roger, that is really, in my opinion, what separates the Dodgers from everybody else. The pitching is excellent, sure. The bullpen is pretty strong. Obviously, they've got power, they've got speed, they've got everything you want. But they're not. You can match up, everybody, a couple of teams, front nine with them, for sure. Maybe even the Braves. You can certainly match up with them, I think. But what sets the Dodgers apart is what you just get, what you guys just mentioned. Fundamentally, they are solid. They play the game exceptionally well. They seldom, if ever, make silly mistakes like the one that you talked about in the Yankees games that allowed Ben Rice to score, like the one last night that kept the Phillies from getting a run and took them out of an inning with the base running gap. So those are the kind of things that separate the Dodgers from everybody else. The fact that they usually don't give away runs or take them away from themselves. They find a way to capitalize on scoring opportunities, and they find a way to minimize the damage when they get into such situations.
So, we very seldom touch on the West, and Seattle, Texas, Houston. Right now, there's certain divisions where there's a lot of competition. We could talk about Atlanta in a moment with Roger in Atlanta, it seems like every time the Phillies have lost in the last week or so, the Braves lost in the last, almost in the same sequence. But some of your thoughts on Seattle and where they stand.
Well, they're a game back of Texas, and I think if you run a poll, if you go to a ballpark, Major League ballpark, pull out 10 fans from the stands, and ask them, who leads the American League West? I bet most of them wouldn't be able to tell you, because all those teams just seem to fly under the radar. Less than Houston. They all seem to kind of fly under the radar. Now, Seattle, they flew under the radar a year ago. here they are, one game back. But they're under 500. They're also a game under 500. So Texas wants the team over. They're there, but they're all pretty good teams. And I think one of the things that's great about the baseball season for this guy is the fact that the AL Central and the AL West races are really, really good. I mean, they're 4-team races right now, and they're really good. And the Athletics in the West are still in the race.
Roy, let me just interrupt for a second. Roy, Frank has an open mic there talking.
No, we don't. That's Daryl Ledbetter's on. He's calling from his car, so that's what you're hearing.
Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead, finish up, Roy. I'm sorry.
Oh, I made my point. That was it. I just think you're right. We don't talk about it much, but both the AL Central and the AL West division races are really, really good, and there's some surprises there. The Athletics, 8.5 games back, but still, in the running. They can make some noise there, and the White Sox, given the Indians fit, and the Tigers trying to figure out what to do with Tarek Skubal. I sure as heck hope they don't trade him, because they may. If they don't regret it this year, certainly will in the coming years, because that will really, really take that team out of contention, I think.
Well, we're gonna have a lot of fun talking baseball over this last 2 months of the season as we get into deep into the season and of course into the playoffs and the World Series. So, Roy, once again, thank you very, very much as always, and we'll do it again next week, and we'll have another great group of topics to talk about.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Roy.
Good week, Roy.
Great weekend.
Okay, just updating the Phillies. It's 2-1 Phillies right now, and they're in the bottom of the third inning.
Bottom of the third.
Yeah, bottom of the third inning, and it's 2-1 Phillies. And Roger, I'm going to let you introduce Darryl because we haven't had a chance to chat with him, and football season is just around the corner, and he is Mr. Atlanta.
Well, he is, and it's our good friend D. Orlando Ledbetter, and we've been friends a long time. I remember all those Mike Smith press conferences when if it was just him alone or the two of us, and the Falcons were the toast of the town in the playoffs. But Darryl, good to talk to you, and I wanted the first thing, I was talking to Frank earlier about it. Congratulations on your great website. I love it. I think it's a perfect title. I love it with the bow tie. And there's so much, it's fun, it's enjoyable, you learn, it's everything you could ever ask for in a website. So congratulations.
In the news from
Hey, Roger, thank you so much for that statement there. Yeah, a lot of work, labor of love, and plan to just cover the Falcons like we've been doing for the last 22 years, just moving over to my own independent website and being an independent journalist here. Looking forward to it on bowtiesports.com, and thank you so much. And yeah, I always enjoyed our times together, going way back to the Mike Smith days.
Darryl, I was just going to ask you that question, the transition, because you spent so many years behind the computer and on the newspapers, and now you're making the transition to the computer. And was it difficult? Do you feel like you're getting everything out of it you wanted to get?
Yeah, it was difficult lining everything up, but we got some good models to follow. PaulKahersky.com, he covers the Titans. New Orleans football, they're doing a great job there. So we're borrowing from them on how to push things out on social media and to provide the fans with the coverage that they, really want. It's a lot of diehard Falcon fans, and we want to give them all the information that they know. Everything you need to know about the Falcons, we'll be able to give that to them there.
Roger?
Darryl, a couple things. Number one, do you have to sell advertising for the website yourself, or you have a team of sales execs? And the other thing is, are you going to have an app, or does it take a lot to put together the app? And once you have the website, because the website is fantastic, and to me, you have just done I'll say it again. a fantastic job. But I'm just wondering, because a lot of people, you know, if you have an app, you got it on your phone, you can do it at any time, any place. So go ahead.
Yeah, ad-wise, we have an ad guy, but we're learning the whole ad business on how to sell internet ads. So we're you know, at the infancy stage of that part. We do have Google AdSense attached to our site, so they'll be pumping in some ads. That's once the, you know, as our traffic grows, and so that's good. And we do have an app. You can go on the website and a couple clicks, and the app comes into your phone. And matter of fact, that's how I get to the site off my phone, is through the Bowtie Sports app. So my IT people, we had three groups bid on it, and we went with the Marietta Project Group right here in Atlanta. They did a lot of work with Truist Bank. And so they, you know, this is the first time they had a sports website, so we got to coach them up on some things, the timing is the posting and so forth. But yeah, we have the infrastructure where you can subscribe, and we got sponsors. We have been doing pretty good on our sponsors. We'll be selling ads in the future, and we're asking people to subscribe. And we got a training camp special going on right now, where you can get the whole year for $27.99. So
that's a good deal. Yeah.
We get the first 100 people in and build a community from there.
Great. We have to add right at the top of the show, I did not do it when I said that Darryl was on this evening. Darryl's already been selected, Roger, for the Hall of Fame. He went in last year. So we're talking to somebody that's not just a sports writer, not just a computer operator, but he's a Hall of Famer to go along with it.
He certainly is. Go ahead, Darryl.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That was a pretty big event there for the family, and proud of that. Yeah, but we you know, we're gonna, you know, we'll cover the Hall of Fame this coming up week. Make sure our fans know about that, and start getting ready for training camp, and you know, pumping the website up through our newsletter and the podcast, and then the website. They all kind of are interconnected, but we're giving people information in the digital age since there's no newspaper being delivered to your door anymore.
Well, Darryl, you're going to be covering Atlanta. When we talk about Atlanta, you're going to be covering the University of Georgia as well, or just the Atlanta Falcons?
No, we just don't cover Atlanta. It's just the Falcons. You know, that's what you know, I did. That's our expertise. I do have somebody that comes on the website, that comes on the podcast, Sideline Mike, who is our Georgia correspondent. And so we'll touch on, you know, Georgia, because they're, you know, football fans here in the state. And a lot of the Falcon fans, you know, keep track of Georgia too. So, and they're one of the best programs in the country. But we're focused solely in on the Falcons, and we'll do a little bit of Georgia football just because they're so good, and there's so many people that love that football team.
Roger?
Darryl, I got to tell you a funny story. I'm teaching driver training at this training school here in Cumming, and every week it comes up that double parking is illegal, you know, in the 17 chapters. One of them's about that. And I brought up about our old friend, your good friend especially, Steve Weiss, when he was covering the Falcons, and he asked me one time about that double parking in the middle of Broad Street. I think you were there when he asked it. And he says, how do they allow that? I know Don and Frank know the story because I talked to them. Well, I asked the kids about it. I said, are any of you NFL Network fans? Oh, yeah, you know, raised their hands. I said, you know who Steve Weiss is? So I explained that there is an exception where you have double parking in the middle of the street, and it's South Broad Street, you know, in Philly. But I'll never forget Steve asking me about that, you know, why they allow that. And, of course, you know, it's because there's so many houses and so many cars, but more houses or more cars than houses. But it was funny. But I still bring that up because that was a great question when we were hanging around, you know, at the Falcons way back. So, and I know, Don, you remember I told you that story, you know, about the parking in the middle of South Broad Street.
Darryl, as we get back to the football situation, I know it's early. Camp doesn't really get underway for another 2 weeks yet. But just a thumbnail sketch, first of all, let's go in the South, because a lot of people that listen to this program are in the Tampa area, with the Bucks, and of course you with the Falcons, and it's been a two-team race in the South for most of the last few years. So give us a thumbnail sketch as we go into training camp of your thoughts of where we're going to go in the National Football in 26.
Yeah, in the NFC South, Carolina, all three teams finished 8-9 last year. The Panthers won it on a tiebreaker that beat the Falcons twice, and that gave them the division. They went and played a pretty good game against the Rams in the playoffs. So they think they're on the come. They think they finally got the quarterback together. In Tampa, they've done a lot of moves, a lot of changes there. They got to get Baker Mayfield taken care of. Michael Evans is gone, and now they, the defense has got to be rebuilt too. So you can kind of see where maybe it's the Panthers and the Falcons, and the Bucks might fall back a little bit this year. The Saints, they've made a lot of moves. They think they have their quarterback of the future. They're moving away from Alvin Kamara, getting him in more of a backup role. They added another receiver in the draft. And, with him in the lobby, they think they'll be able to throw the ball and spread people out. So I'm thinking Panthers, Falcons, then the Bucks, and then the Saints trying to improve in the NFC South.
Roger? Well, that's a good setup. And do you see the Saints improving? I do. I think my feeling is the coach. I think the coach having his getting into his second year. I think that that'll bring them up. I think that's going to be a very competitive division, Darryl. What do you think about overall? Could be really tight.
Yeah, it could be really tight, and people have been kind of kicking dirt on the division because nobody's been able to get the 10 wins here, win a thing, and Tampa kind of dominated it there for 4 years, I believe it was, and but if everybody's improving and getting better, Falcons, nobody's been settled at quarterback except for Baker Mayfield. He's the best quarterback in the division, and you got a bunch of young guys, and Penix and Tua are trying to prove themselves. They prove that they're worthy of the top 10 picks that they were selected with. So the quarterback play is what needs to elevate. But all the teams have very good units. Nobody has everything anymore. It's going to have some holes. But, yeah, I think the division could be a lot stronger this year than a lot of people anticipate.
Darryl, every time we talk about football, we talk about the Dallas Cowboys because, the Dallas Cowboys are still the Dallas Cowboys, and they're talking about the Cowboys in Seattle. But I think the Rams, going into training camp, I think the Rams are a very, very settled team.
Yes, no doubt about it. We did our power rankings on the website. The Rams are number one coming out of the mini camps in the offseason with all the moves they made. And certainly getting a big trade there with Myles Garrett coming from the Browns. And then if Aaron Donald comes back, oh, God, that makes them a head and shoulders above everybody else type of defense. So, throw Matthew Stafford in there, his ability to move the ball, and a good defense, and that's going to be a formula for them to catch Seattle and hold off San Francisco and maybe dominate in the NFC.
Roger?
Yeah, they're a powerhouse. There's no doubt about it, and I agree. If Donald comes back and can play anywhere near what he's played in the past, and they had to give on that trade for Garrett. They had to give up 2 first rounds and more, right?
Yeah, Garrett first, the fine young defensive end who is going to look like he's going to be a pretty good ball player too.
Wow. You got to go back to your quarterback there. everybody's counting on him having another year or maybe even 2 years. But he is up in age, and where do they go if something happens at quarterback for the Rams?
Yeah, they're gonna be in a pickle. They did draft a kid from Alabama, Simpson, and they don't want to play him right away. But if Stafford's getting up there and he's got to get up there, John McVay, I'm sure has stuff ready for him to go and ready for him to play. I think they still have Stetson Bennett and a couple other backups over there to get them through a tough stage. But yeah, they spent the first round pick on Simpson when a lot of people had him going to second. So they'll get him ready to play, but they don't want to have to play him before it's time.
Roger?
Well, there's a kid that was at Tennessee Tech. I know his parents, they teach in Forsyth, and he went on the NIL, Darryl, and he's at Villanova as the kicker. He gave him a full scholarship. And I said to the parents, keep him healthy, let him have a good college career, and he could have a long-term NFL career as a kicker. Because if you look at some of these kickers, they're like older guys. And they're still there, and there's still always a demand for a kicker, especially if you get into the season. And if a kicker blows a few, they have a cadre coming into audition, don't they?
Yeah, no doubt. The Falcons were living that life last year, Roger.
Yeah.
They went through three kickers, ended up with Stain Gonzalez at the end. But they did just what you said. They went out and got them an old guy. They went and got Nick Folk, who's 40. And
right.
He's money inside of 40, but, you're not going to be kicking a bunch of 50-yarders with him like the kid in Dallas and so forth. But, yeah, the young kid has good advice to give to the family there about the kicker. There's going to be a lot of kicking jobs open here in the next couple of years as these 40-year-old guys age out. Some of the young kickers like Young Wei Koo kind of lost their way.
Well, you look around the league over the last couple of years and how many games were lost in the area of, kicking. I mean, and let's face it, the Bucs were right in there for a long period of time. They couldn't get a kicker that could kick something. Every time they turned around, the game they would lose would be because they couldn't kick a field goal at the end of the game. That was certainly a remarkable situation. And so you're exactly right, Darryl. You got to have the right guys at the right place, and they're all looking just for consistency. That's all.
Yeah, no doubt. I know back when Coach Smith was here, once he got to the 35-yard line, he knew that Matt Bryant was good from 52. He's pretty much automatic. So once they got to the 35, they could kind of take some shots and gamble. Just don't go backwards. And, that's you got a dependable kicker from 52. Now they'll settle for 40, 45. But they need, guys that, you got to put points on the board when you move down there. And you got to field goal people to death. You got to be able to do that.
Roger?
Well, remember that he was so good, Matt Bryan. And then, Morton Anderson lives in the shadows of Falcons complex in Flowery Branch. And, I mean, there's a Hall of Famer that was a great kicker. And, that's exactly what the parents of Dom LeBlanc were told. The coach said that he felt there were a couple of games last year that they could have won if they had a good kicker. And that's exactly why they went after a good kicker. And, they can make so much of it, a big difference in so many games just for a point or two. And, even missing an extra point. I mean, every time an extra point's missed early in the game, I think it's going to come back and bite the team.
Yeah, and now we got all these coaches that want to go for it on 4th and 1,
yeah.
And go for it in their own territory, and it's just a whole different analytics approach to the game that we're seeing. That kicker is so much more important because if you're gonna gamble, you're trying to gamble to get a touchdown, not a field goal. But then if you gamble and don't get the field goal, my gosh, that's a really bad situation to be in.
Now, Darryl, the other thing is that a lot of them are looking for long term. I mean, when we used to think about kicking field goals, true, you talk about 45 yards, 47 yards, even 50. But now they want a guy that's going to kick, 55, 57, 59. And they're rare. I mean, you're not going to find people that can do this.
Yeah, and I think part of that is the analytics, folks, and then the fact that you got people playing in a lot of indoor stadiums that, the conditions are such that they can try those long field goals and, they block them up, get enough to where they're low and, they don't get blocked. And then, you can kind of move forward and just go for it and get some points on the board. That's what a lot of people are doing now.
Roger?
Yeah, you're right. Just to get the points on the board is right. I wanted to ask you what do you think the strongest aspects of the Falcons? As we're getting ready for full camp and actually you're in camp because when's the first preseason game? Is like the second week in August, right? So, what do you think their strongest position is now? Is it defensive line, offensive line? What's your opinion?
I think it is running back. That's their Bill Kyle back, but John Robinson's been able to carry the load, and you don't want to overwork him. But if they're going anywhere, he's going to have a whole lot to do with it. On the defensive side of the ball, Roger, I like the safety. Jesse Bates and Xavier Watts, the rookie from Notre Dame last year, had 5 interceptions. They can keep the ball in front of them and at least make people slow, go down the field slow. And you don't see receivers running down the field wide open like we've seen in years past. So when you got a back end that's sturdy like that, that allows you to stay in the game, slow down the opposing team's offense. Those are 2 key factors for the Falcons and probably their best players on the team.
How about the wideouts? Because right now, wide receivers and slot backs and receivers are really keynotes to making your team move the ball effectively.
Yeah, the receiver Drake London, they just paid him 4 years, $150 million. And Kyle Pitts, he also got paid. So you got a tight end and a wide receiver, and Drake London. A lot of people compared him to Mike Evans coming out, and he showed flashes of that last year. And he's done it with unstable quarterback situation. So whoever's been in there, whether it's Desmond Ridder or Kirk Cousins or Marcus Mariota, I don't think he played with him, but certainly Ridder and Kirk Cousins, they found a way to get him the ball, and he found a way to get open. And Zach Robinson, who's in Tampa now, did a good job of getting Drake involved in the attack when the opposing team knew he was going to get the ball. So he's done a good job here. And, you can run Bijan, and then you're going to have to throw it to Drake London. He's a big-time receiver, and Kyle Pitts has showed he can catch it, and he's clutch over the middle, runs tougher routes now, and maybe he's going to be a pretty good tight end where we saw some inconsistencies early in his career.
Roger?
Well, yeah, he's my guy, Darryl, and I have said many times on the show that I thought he was used improperly pretty much from the very beginning, and I was so happy to see his performance. And, when he first came out of school, he was a generational tight end. And I don't think he ever really got the chance to show what he can do. And I think he's showing it now. And I think he's also, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's a class act.
Yeah, good kid, good Philly kid, good upbringing. And some of the inconsistencies early, I think, Roger, the fact that he came into the league at 19. He turned 20 his first year over in London. And, just being a 20-year-old, playing against these grown men in the NFL, yeah, you might, kind of have to figure out where you fit in at and so forth. But you ought to see it kind of click last year. And I think if Arthur Smith had been here the whole time, Arthur Smith knows how to use tight ends. He's the one who drafted him. He's the one who had the master plan for him, and he would have probably been just fine. But they started firing him after 3 years, and then Raheem got 2 years, and now he's on his third head coach here in Atlanta. So he was there with Matt Ryan's last year, and so that was Dan Quinn and Raheem Morris too. So he's got 3 head coaches. So that the instability at the coaching spot may have affected his early development. Now they kept his position coach Kevin Cougar, and you got offensive-minded coach Kevin Stefanski, who knows how to use tight ends too.
Yeah.
So there's room for him to continue to grow.
Yeah.
Darrell Ledbetter, our Hall of Fame writer from Atlanta, Georgia, and Darrell was nice enough to join his time in and time out to talk about the National Football League, not only talk about the Atlanta Falcons, but talk about the league in general. And Darrell, before we move out, hard for me to believe that we could talk this long without ever mentioning a team from New York, but New York has been starved for any kind of a winning, even a 500 winning season. Do they have anybody this year that can win 500%?
Well, the Giants they got Coach Harbaugh in there, so they're going to be competitive. I don't know if Jackson Dart's the quarterback or not for them, but he'll certainly come up with a formula for them to win, whether it's running the ball 60 times a game or not. But and they'll play defense, so I'll give them a chance to maybe do that, maybe get over 500. But I don't think the Jets are close to that yet. A lot of changes. Coach Glenn's going to his second year. They're just starting to put some pieces in place for them. He's got to play with Geno Smith at quarterback. So, they could be in the running for Arch Manning in the draft. It's supposed to be a great draft class, but I don't think the Jets are, close to getting back to 500. I think if the New York teams do that, that would be everything coming together with the Giants and Coach Harbaugh up there now.
Frank, give me 30 seconds.
Okay.
Coaches, he's being a great buffer between the coaching staff and the ownership group. So Matt has jumped into his job, 10 toes down, and trying to affect the team in a positive way. And Kyle said, hey, Matt is the same person. He's still offering me tips to, improve my game, tips on becoming more of a leader, things that he used to do for him when he was a rookie, helping him in the league. So he's kind of finding his lane on how to put his imprint on the team as the president of football for the Atlanta Falcons.
I was just going to say, how about that transition? Because we saw it done in San Francisco. Replay, of course, coming out of Tampa, Florida.
Okay, Mike, I'll merge you right in.
Can he do the same thing that he did in Atlanta?
But yeah, I think it's a different role. John Lynch done a great job out there. He had a good staff underneath him. Tony Baselli in Jacksonville done a great job with it. Dan Morgan in Carolina. So Matt is following some of the blueprints that are out there. Got a good working relationship with Ian Cunningham, who is came under Ryan Poole from Chicago. Ryan was Matt's best friend in college at Boston College. So that's working out pretty good so far.
Roger, bring us home.
Well, that's good to hear, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to be free next week. I'll get in touch with you. Hopefully, I can make it over there. I love to spend some time with you and see everybody. It would be nice to at least get one day before school starts back on the practice field, Daryl. And best of luck.
Yeah.
Give the exact address of the Bow Tie Express.
All right, Roger. Yeah, it'd be great to see you. We can grab lunch and so forth. But the website is bowtiesports.com, and you can go in there and bounce around and click the membership and join that. But it's bowtiesports.com. Thank you so much.
Okay, listen, God bless. Take care.
Thanks,
talk
Daryl.
to you soon.
Thank you, Frank. All right.
Take care, Daryl. It was always great to have you join us, and we'll look forward to your next visit as well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. Have a great one.
You too.
Mike Zimzak's in the wings waiting to talk to us about and our soccer expert, and we were fortunate enough to have Daryl on as a football expert, Hall of Famer. We're lucky enough to have Roy on, who's been covering what's happening in Tampa, Florida for 30 years with all the teams, whether it was baseball, football, or basketball, or whatever. But we got Mike Zimzak, who does more work in the Washington, Baltimore area for both the hockey, the baseball, everything. But primarily, he's a soccer novel owner, and he knows all about soccer. And your observations on the championship game and how this thing all wound up.
Oh, I'm supposed to talk soccer tonight?
Oh, okay, if you don't want to talk soccer, what are you going to talk about?
I thought I thought that we were going to talk Italy. All right, gentlemen, how you doing? It's great to talk to you tonight, as always.
Same here, Mike. Same here.
Some of your keynote observations on what happened in the final game.
This was not the final that I wanted, but it was the final that I expected when I saw the draw. Over the last 2 years, watching France dismantle Croatia 4-2, and then that Barcelona final with Argentina beating France last year, we've had two of the best finals, the most exciting finals to watch. This version was not. I enjoyed it. Spain were by far the best team in the World Cup, and they were the most deserving team. I didn't think that Argentina offered a lot in that game. They didn't even have a shot on target in the first 90 minutes.
Mike, I'm going to tell you something. You just amplified exactly what I said to our first guest when we talked briefly about it, because I knew we were going to talk. How in the world can you sit there and you're looking at this sport and you're saying, wait a minute, we're halfway through the second half and there's not a shot on goal?
Well, that's what Spain do to you when Spain is doing what they do. They possess the ball. In the past, Spain has been like a boa constrictor. They just possess the ball and they squeeze the life out of it. I would say this version of Spain is kind of more like an alligator. They're going to put pressure on you. They're going to put all their weight on you, and then they're going to snap their jaws and do that death spiral. 11 shots on target, 11 saves by Emi Martinez, who had one of the great games for a goalkeeper in a final. But Spain just do that to you. They possess the ball. They create shots. They look for aggressive runs. And all of a sudden, you're looking up, and they've had the ball for 65% of the game, and you have nothing.
Roger?
Well, I'm with Don. I understand how you cannot generate some offense to take at least one shot on the goal, Mike. I mean, I understand defense, but there's got to be a way for a coach to develop something.
Roger, the ethos of this team is that you get the ball on your back foot. you pass the ball within 3 seconds. You anticipate the pass that is going to, and you move into space to receive the pass, and you pass within 3 seconds. Should you lose the ball, you have 6 seconds to get it back. And that's what we saw. Their best defense is their offense. They possess the ball. They do not give you a shot. And then they keep, as Hank Schramm said, they keep matriculating the ball down the field, create the opportunities. Now, on this particular occasion, they were not able to create one of the opportunities that I thought they were. And there are these times where Spain gets the ball, and I think they should shoot when they pass, and they should pass when they shoot. We saw them come up, but at the end of the day, Fernand Torres gets the one that goes in, and the most deserving team wins 1-0. It's not pretty. In a lot of ways, it's boring, but that's what they do.
I agree with all of that, but it just didn't seem to me, there didn't seem to be any aggression. It seemed like you're right, they were controlling the ball, and they were controlling it from a deep, and they were just passing the ball back and forth between themselves. And there wasn't any real aggression on either side, but primarily, Argentina, they just never put themselves in a position where they could even try to score.
Because they could not get the ball off of Spain. Like I said, Spain turns the ball over, they have 6 seconds to get it back, and they do that very, very well.
Right.
Went back, recovered the ball, move it forward. They weren't able to. They don't have a Erling Haaland, Harry Kane, true striker who scores all their goals for them. Most of their goals come in from the wing. Lamine Yamal, Fernand Torres, Art Baena, Nico Williams get most of their goals. In this case,
Hey, don't breathe. Don't breathe.
Argentina were able to defend that, which made it look ball. And it was. I'm not going to lie, it was kind of a boring game. Spain had so much possession, so much pressure. Argentina were just kind of there. And the only reason we thought that they had a chance was because Messi's on their side.
That was what I thought. I mean, we're talking about you spent last week, just analyzing Messi and how great he was, especially from a non-runner, from a standing start, how much quicker he is than everybody else, how many opportunities he has to do things. But it never materialized. Nothing happened.
Well, because Spain and the way that they played were able to basically choke him out of the game, which was the same thing that they did to France for the best offensive team in the tournament. They are just really, really good. I like to think of Spain like Pete Carrill's person offense.
Right.
Backdoor. Version 2.0. Where they had the aggressive runs. Now, in this particular case, it didn't work out for them. But if you think of them in 2012, like the old Four Corners offense, where they really would stand 20 yards from the field and pass the ball from themselves, in between themselves, wait for somebody to come out and challenge them, and then go and score. They at least made aggressive runs this time to try and score. They put 12 shots on Emi Martinez, and he saved 11 of them. Record for goalkeeper stops or saves in a World Cup final. The reason why this game was even remotely close was because Emilio Martinez was standing on his head and putting in a Tim Howard type shift and just a brick wall.
Well, let me ask you, Mike, I want to get back to the second half. And, what Don was alluding to is exactly what was discussed last week. Massey was supposed to be the do-it-all, take care of everything because he's so great and so talented, 39 years old, probably his last World Cup. Okay, the consensus seems to be that he was not he didn't pick it up until the second half. Do you agree with that?
Messi is like Tom Brady at quarterback. When Tom Brady was at his best, he'd pick out Gronk, he could pick out Randy Moss. He could do everything. Messi does everything that Tom Brady does, but he does it with his feet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you remember, gentlemen, the reason why the Eagles were able to beat the Patriots in that first Super Bowl was Tom Brady off the field. If Lionel Messi does not have the ball, he cannot do damage.
Okay.
Spain denied Lionel Messi the ball. They never allowed him to get into a position where he had the ball in his feet and he could dictate play. That did not happen until late into extra time after Spain had scored. And all of a sudden, Argentina had this onslaught. If you don't have the ball, you can't do anything.
Oh, that's true.
That's right. Yeah, you're right about that.
If he has the ball, he can pick you apart. He can do everything that Lionel Messi does. What Spain did was, by their domination of possession, they kept the ball away from him.
Well, in some issues, Mike, is this it for Messi? Do you think that he's going to call it a career after that loss? I know that he talked about so much in the press. At least what I read about how he was affected personally about the lack of performance and the fact that they lost. Do you think this is it?
I think we may see him in 2 years in the Gold Cup. I do not think that we will see him in another World Cup. He'll be 43, 44 when
You're right.
the World Cup comes around. And I doubt that he will be able to, at that point, continue to play a full season and then go to the World Cup. So I think this is the last time that we've seen him in a World Cup. And hey, if this is the last time that we've seen him in a World Cup, by all means, it's been fantastic. 4 years ago, he had one of the greatest finals ever, scoring the goals, lifting Argentina to their third World Cup. He was able to negotiate this tournament to get them back to the final. That is a huge lift, something that not a lot of people are able to do. So if he goes out and this is what his legacy is, I actually think that this World Cup and the last one, this 4-year cycle, has really solidified him as probably the greatest player ever. I always want to say it was Pele and there was nothing Messi could do. What he has shown me over the last 4 years, he's probably the greatest player that we've ever seen. So let's appreciate Lionel Messi for what Lionel Messi is and enjoy the fact that we probably have another year and a half, 2 years with him down in Miami in your neck of the woods where we can see him play in MLS and enjoy that. I don't think we'll see him much on the international stage past this. It's time to listen. When you're photographed holding a baby who then becomes your opponent,
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
in the World Cup final, I think it's time to hang it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's
Yeah.
make the transition right there. We've pretty much covered the World Cup. We've pretty much covered Messi and what's happening right now. But you're in the heart of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. And, of course, the Ravens are making some moves. Washington is we're sort of sitting, waiting back now. You talked all during the off season about what they didn't do and the players, some of the veteran players that they signed or didn't sign. Let's start with the Washington. What do you think about the Commanders? What are they going to do?
How healthy can they keep Jaden Daniels? And how healthy can Jaden Daniels keep Jaden Daniels? Let's start with this. If they sign Brandon Ayuk, I think that is the dumbest move ever. I think Brandon Ayuk is an amazing player, but what he has done over the last couple of months with his social media feed, please, this is Antonio Brown. This is all the toxicity that you don't need when you're building a team. So please, let's leave him to the side. 2 years ago, Jaden Daniels was the next big thing. Last year, he suffers the injuries. He doesn't complete half the games. He's the next Robert Griffin III. What is the truth? Somewhere in between the two. I think he's an amazing player, and he can be a great quarterback in the NFL. They have a better line this year. I think they've given him some better weapons. I think Chicago on the tight end position is going to be a really big player for them. I would like to see them get another wide receiver, but I think that they are primed to make another run at the playoffs. Are they going to be that 11-6, 12-5 team that they were 2 years ago on the run to the NFC championship game? Not 100% sure about that, but this is a team that is going to be difficult to deal with.
Roger?
Mike, I want to talk to you about one more thing about the World Cup. There's some speculation that it would be great to have the World Cup here every 4 years, and then have the in 2 years have the cup rotate, in different cities bid on it. Do you see the World Cup coming here in 4 years, or do you see it coming in even the next 12 years? Or was this like it was the big shot was taken, it was great, and you really can't duplicate something like this as far as the world response to the United States of America?
I think that we captured lightning in a bottle again, like we did.
I'm trying one of the mashed potatoes with gravy in the middle, and I was joking.
Oh, no. I don't know what the hell happened.
I don't know. That dropped.
Come on. The phone won't let me. Okay. There's two. All right, Don, you and Mike are on. I'll get Roger back on. There we go. Okay, we're back.
Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm back.
Mike, go ahead. You know what you were answering about the
World Cup.
Yeah,
All right, there have been the only country that has ever hosted the World Cup 3 times is Mexico, and they got their third on this go round. 2030 is already scheduled to be primarily in Morocco, Spain, and Portugal, with games played in Uruguay, Argentina, and Brazil.
Okay.
2034 is already going to be in Saudi Arabia. So there is talk of the U.S. hosting again in 2038. The closest time in between the same country hosting the World Cup is 16 years. Mexico hosted it in 1970 and then again in 1986. We, the U.S., have to deal with the fact that it's no longer going to be, the World Cup is not necessarily going to be in one country. It's going to kind of be in a collection of countries.
Yeah.
That is what it is looking like right now. But it hasn't been in England since 1966. Belgium, Luxembourg, Denmark, the Nordic countries have been looking to have them. It's never been, although it's been in South Africa, and it will be again in 2030 in Morocco. Western Africa has never been able to host a World Cup. We really haven't had one in Australia and New Zealand. I think there are places that FIFA is going to look to put the World Cup again before they just give it to the United States.
Well, the thing I'm thinking about, and then we'll from it. I mean, when you talk about going to Australia and New Zealand, you're talking about number one, 12-hour difference, and the other thing is they're in the opposite season. They're going to be in the winter time if they do it, in the summer, and they're not going to do it in the winter time. We know that, and maybe that's one of the reasons.
We have seen them do it in the winter for Saudi Arabia and Qatar, so therefore that one's off the table. The 12-hour time difference, while it may be inconvenient for the United States, they will make sure that games are available for the United States, but they really don't care about that because you can still get games in Europe and Asia.
Yeah, but what everybody has said is that we have the great stadiums, which these other venues don't have overall. They may have one.
What we don't have is Wembley. What we don't have is Old Trafford. What we don't have is the Bernabeu. What we don't have is the Camp Nou. What we don't have is Allianz Arena. Like, there are historic, great venues outside of the United States.
I understand that. We're going to get off of this, okay? But you don't have 20 cities in the country where you have superior stadiums, and that's what a lot of the soccer people have said, and you know it, Mike. That's what they have said.
They look at this
Jesus
stuff, but I
Christ.
know this for a fact. England has many good. The Commonwealth of Great Britain has as many good soccer stadiums as we do football stadiums. Germany has a boatload of them. So does Spain. So does Belgium. So do a lot of these countries. We do not have a. I would love to come back here in 2038. Our expectation after this one, like it was in 1994. Oh, you're going to come back here because we have all this awesome stuff. No, we do not have a right to this tournament.
But we have things that these other countries don't, like air conditioning, like.
Hey, sir. How are you?
Hey, buddy. What's going on?
Yeah, same old shit every day. We're just finishing up with Mike.
Okay.
How's things going up there?
Pretty good. Just,
Yeah.
you know, I've been busy halfway through summer camp season here. So, it's, you know, pretty long days. And, you know, this week at least it's been nice. But in previous weeks, God darn, the weather's been so hot up here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm outside sometimes 10, 12 hours a day. And that's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just trying to hang in there and make, you know, a couple more days here. And then Saturdays for us are pretty much family days.
Yeah.
They're also recoup days for me.
I
It's a lot, man.
understand.
I mean, you know, I'm up most days by 5:30, getting myself together. I'm usually in our home gym by 6:30 and trying to get my workout in. And then, you know, it's off to whatever location. And then, you know, by 2:00, the camp's over. And then I go to my other location and then we teach till. So it's pretty fast moving here. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're doing the best we can, man. We're hanging in there.
Okay. You can merge it right in.
All right, thank you.
Most chaotic bipolar team in Major League Baseball. The only team that can beat a team 23-4 on one night and then turn around and lose to the same team 15-1 on the next. They are fun, they are crazy, they are apoplectic. I have no idea what they are thinking. Offensively, they're great to watch. So offensively, they're elite. Defensively, pitching-wise, they're a little league team.
Especially for the seventh inning on.
They can put the ball in play, but they can score runs, but they can't stop anybody from scoring. And so what I've decided with this version of Washington Nationals is, let's just lean into it. They are going to be what they are. They could score 23 runs and blow out a team.
How'd you get off?
I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Everybody else is still on.
I'm here.
And once you accept that, they're actually a lot of fun to watch.
Roger?
Yeah, well, I know that talking about the Commodores, you know, we were talking about the NFC and with Darrell Ledbetter. What's the feeling? Because you're closer to DC there, where you live in Rockville, right, or Gaithersburg?
I'm in Silver Spring.
Okay, you're closer in. Okay. I thought that you were further out, but
well, you know, gentlemen, if you've ever been to Silver Spring, you know that Silver Spring goes from basically DC up to North Maryland and Albany. I'm closer up to, I'm further up to where.
That's where University of Maryland is, right?
Yeah.
No, University of Maryland is in College Park.
College Park. But no, I listen. I stayed in Silver Spring when I was in the process of moving down, so I know, and I know where the metro stop is there in downtown Silver Spring. But anyway,
No, if you know where that is, I'm by Glenmont. That's close to where you.
Oh, you're Glenmont. Okay, the Glenmont station. Yeah,
I'm 2 miles away from Glenmont.
Okay. Well, here's my question. We're talking about the Commanders. Okay. Now, what's the consensus so far as we were getting the season started about the Commanders in the NFC East? I look at them as assuming that the Eagles do as well as anticipated. I look at the Giants of taking a big leap, and I could see the Commanders going down. Am I wrong or right about that possibility?
If you assume that the Eagles are going to do what the Eagles do, and that they're going to be around the top, and then the Dallas Cowboys, who can be interesting, but should be more competitive this year than they were last year.
Right.
That leaves you with the Commanders and the Giants,
Right.
fighting it out. And I actually think those teams are pretty evenly matched.
Okay.
I could see right now either one of them competing for second or third in the conference and being round a playoff team.
Okay. So every team could, in your opinion, all of them are going to be over 500. I agree with that. Okay.
I actually, if you ask me right now to choose in between the Giants and the Commanders, I'd probably pick the Commanders. I trust Jaden Daniels a little bit more than I do Jackson Dart. I think that they are a more balanced team and a more capable team than the Giants, especially when I look at the Giants and I have no idea what they're doing at the wide receiver position.
Okay, let me ask you this. Between John Harbaugh and Dan Quinn, who do you consider the better coach?
Long term or over the course of the season?
Well, either one. I mean, we're talking about this coming season.
I think Dan Quinn's been here for 3 years. I think that Dan Quinn has a great hold on the roster that he has and is embedded, whereas John Harbaugh is getting to know his players and putting his identity on his team. For this season, I might take Dan Quinn. Longitudinally over the course of a career, over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, I might take Harbaugh.
Okay.
But I don't think that Dan Quinn got this team to a NFC Championship game 2 years ago. Dan Quinn got a team to a Super Bowl. Dan Quinn is a doggone good head coach. And when I listen to him and I watch him, he is. I always think back to I had taxi when I was over in Iraq, and he told me, Mike, guys know when they're getting good leadership. And I look at Dan Quinn and I look at him and I say, guys know when they're getting good leadership. I don't know if Dan Quinn has always been in the situations that John Harbaugh has been in, but I think that he's a doggone good head coach, and I think that he's a good leader. And I think that regardless of what happens this season, everybody's talking about, like, Dan Quinn had a bad season last year. He's on the hot seat. I think that the Commanders would be stupid to get rid of him. Even if he misses the playoffs this year. You give him another run out.
Mike, I think it all comes down, he's got to have a quarterback that stays healthy. If he has a quarterback that stays healthy, then I agree with everything you said. If he has a quarterback that goes down because he runs the ball too much or becomes injured, same situation with Baltimore. We'll talk to Doug about that in a couple of seconds. But it all hinges on the quarterback. If he can stay healthy, I think Quinn's got a great shot. If he doesn't, it's going to be a long season.
For any one of our jobs, I would hate for any one of our jobs, no matter how well we do it, to depend on the health of another person.
Well,
That's true.
That's football.
But in that game, unfortunately, that's the way it is.
And I hate that his ability to keep his Doug, as good as I think he is, depends on the health of another person.
That's right. Okay.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you very, very much for not only the soccer information, but the football and baseball information. And I know Doug is standing by the Open. We don't call it the British Open anymore. We just call it the Open. And in some areas, a little disappointing, and in some areas, unbelievably exciting. Doug, welcome back. Nice to have you with us, and give us your opening thought on the Open.
Well, it's a great tournament to watch. As previously stated, it's in theory, it's usually about 100 degrees here in the States when they're wearing winter caps over there. There were a few guys wearing sweaters. I guess it was probably about 70s, but it's great to see that come on super early in the morning. I think that golf course played significantly different than a lot of the Opens that we've seen because it's hard and fast, and the scoring was a little bit better. It was a fun tournament to watch. I mean, there wasn't, you had your Bryson DeChambeau kind of drama, if you will, with the penalty and different things. But all in all, I mean, I'm telling you, we said this last week to preface the tournament. The British Open is one of those tournaments that in many cases somebody wins it that you didn't think was going to. You know what I mean? That was fairly obscure.
Right. Doug Hamilton, our PGA professional, master professional. So we chat a little bit about the Open, and Roger, you had a couple of observations on the phone during a couple of the rounds that we talked about. You were not impressed with the Royal course.
No. Doug, I called Don. I'm totally unimpressed. And as Roy Cummings called it, a farm. That's what it reminded him of. When you see brown grass, I'm spoiled with the Masters and the impeccable treatment. This looked like a dump to me when it goes into the rough. And also, then you look at the leaders, and the other thing is, Don had a great point when I talked to him. The only sport where you can penalize somebody after the event is over.
Right.
And why is that? Yeah, that's what that was going to be. I'm just jumping in on his question. And I agree. I mean, I don't understand it. Go ahead.
That's a
Go
lot
ahead,
to
Don.
lot to unpack.
We've seen it done a couple of times. That was done down in North Carolina a couple of years ago when the ball was declared in the sand and not in the sand. Doug will explain it better than I can. But it is a sport where they can look at it and come out after the round is over, and they can readjust the score. Doug, you're the pro. Go to it.
Well, was that something, Johnson, you were talking about up in
Pinehurst?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look, as much as they'd like to say, it's not like in many sports where you have an umpire or a referee or somebody who's standing right there who, sees something and throws a flag or calls a foul or does whatever. I mean, there are tour officials that are roaming, but in many cases they're only kind of called upon when, someone says, oh boy, I don't know what to do here, or I'd rather have somebody come over here and watch it and tell me to do it as opposed to doing it incorrectly or what have you. I mean, you see it in other sports where, hell, I don't know, somebody gets a 15-yard penalty for unnecessary roughness, and then the league comes back and they fine him a substantial amount of money, or, it happens in basketball where I guess you get a certain amount of technicals, and all of a sudden something happens to you, I don't know, whatever.
You're right, Doug, but they don't change the score. In other words, the score becomes irrelevant. They are fined after the fact, and it affects them personally, but it doesn't affect the game.
Well, forgive the verbiage here, but it's kind of shitty that you would go, play your round of golf, assuming that you've shot X score, and then somebody comes back and says, oh, by the way, you need to tack 2 more onto that. That obviously affects you, and then obviously the rest of the field. It could affect the cut, the line.
yeah, I guess it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. I mean, if you're standing there and a guy says, "Hey, wait a minute, you can't do that. That's a 2-shot penalty," or whatever. I mean, at least you know what your score is, and you can probably mentally, move forward with that. I mean, I not that it's a distinct parallel, but I remember, playing in a pro assistant, and I hit my ball on a golf course that was slightly right of the green, and there was that kind of, we'll say, shin high kind of wispy grass, and I was kind of leafing through it to identify my golf ball, and this rules official was standing there, and he said, "You assessed me a penalty because," he said, "I was improving my lie." And I looked at him and, like, I guess maybe in my younger days, some things came out of my mouth that maybe shouldn't have, but I said to the guy, I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about, dude? Like, it's, I mean, it's shin high. I'm like trying to figure out if it's my golf ball, and I'm peeling back the wispy grass to identify it, and how the heck could you assume that I was improving my lie? What was I doing to improve my lie? I wasn't building a stance incorrectly. I was just trying to figure out what my golf ball looked like." So, I mean, it happens, but, unfortunately, as you mentioned, I mean, it does have a profound effect on, the play from thereafter. But to Roger's point, I don't know. I mean, we're fairly spoiled in America when it comes to, seeing the Masters early in the season when everything is in bloom and green and lush and, all the things. Those golf courses over there, that's kind of the standard because of the weather changes that happen on a frequent basis. I mean, by next week, it'll probably be green again for all we know. So I don't mind. I mean, and Roger, you know this to be true because a lot of the golf courses south are Bermuda grass. So, once the weather starts to turn a little bit and gets a little cooler, they'll brown out. If you play a lot of the, I've never done it, but if you play the desert courses, I mean, you'll see, the rough is brown, but the fairways are green or, whatever. I mean, I think it actually adds a little bit to it to me. And, the plane ride is a bit too much for me to stomach to go over there and see it for myself, but I think I'd like to play on some of those golf courses that are more link style that they are accustomed to here in America.
Roger?
Well, I mean, I've seen some tournaments on courses here that, I mean, they weren't perfect, like I think the Augusta National is, but they're correct. Well, I looked at Aronimink. Aronimink had some rough spots. I mean, I watched a lot of golf on that tournament, but I just was amazed. I mean, it does look like, with a lot of high grass and in the rough and everything, it's not a lot of trees there that I saw.
Well, a links course doesn't necessarily have trees.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
Well,
you're right. You're right.
There was a show that I saw, I believe it was last night that I was watching on the Golf Channel, and there was a guy named, what the hell was his name? Something Doherty. I guess he had played on tour, and he was an English guy or British guy or whatever, and he was doing a segment on a driving range of the golf course for the show, and literally where he was standing, like directly to the left of him was like a street. I don't know if I would call it like a huge thoroughfare, but from behind where he was standing, it was like a 4-way stop. You know what I mean? Like there's golf over there is completely different. Like they have golf courses, but the roads are like, they're a portion of different things, and they add, I don't know if it's a space concept or lack of or what have you, but it's a completely different game. I mean, the British Open this year got super lucky with the weather. It wasn't, inclement with rain, and it wasn't super windy. It wasn't super cold. I mean, it was a gem for those guys to play in this year because you can get a little bit of everything over there when it comes to, you catch one of those holes that's into the wind. I mean, it can add, 2 or 3 clubs to your selection. So it's a different game.
No question about it. And of course, that's one of the things that they really enjoy, the fact of going over to their areas. I'm talking about the foreign players now and playing in that kind of course because they like, and they played, you grew up, in that atmosphere, and they enjoy it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, they're accustomed to the elements. you know, and over here, obviously in America, I mean, a lot of these golf courses they're playing are, you know, undulated with greens and, not, they're not, but, different styles, if you will, of greens. You've got, elevated concepts. You have, tree-lined fairways. You have, you know, severe dog legs that have obstacles. You have different things that make American golf completely different than what you'd see. And it's kind of a thing here in America now. Like if you look at Oakmont, they removed pretty much all their trees, and a lot of these golf courses are going back through from a, if I call it landscaping, but redesigned, if you will, to remove a predominant amount of their trees from their golf courses for several reasons. You know, one, it's agronomically better for the golf course because a lot of those areas, greens and tee boxes, whatever, are shaded, and they don't get the proper airflow to some of those spots, so they have to remove those trees to enhance that. Obviously, when you talk about the roots and water and different things from a sub underneath standard, but it also changes the landscape of the golf course. I mean, you know, if you've ever played golf and you've hit a shot into a green that has a significant amount of trees behind it, and then you remove those trees, it frames it differently. And it's almost like your depth perception changes immensely. Like their lines are different, if you will, when it comes to seeing that.
Well, I think it was a good bit. It's interesting that Scotty's playing this week. Most people, if you play the Open, they take a week or two off.
Yeah.
Two things. One, Scotty is playing this week. He's only won one time. He wound up 7 under, which was not nearly good enough, which was disappointing to him. Which he still was very competitive on the last day, but not quite competitive enough. And secondly, the comments, DeChambeau, of course, was very, very outspoken about the officials and about the tournament. And McIlroy was very outspoken about what DeChambeau did.
Sure. No, that's an ongoing feud, I think. And, you know, whatever. I mean, it seems kind of petulant, but at the same time, I mean, you know, sports have rivalries, sports have grudges, sports have, you know, in some cases paybacks. I mean, I'm trying to think of which Ryder Cup that was that I deem in my lifetime to be potentially the best, where I believe Rory was playing Patrick Reed and they were just kind of talking a lot of smack together, and they were birdie after birdie after birdie. And, you know, that same Ryder Cup was Phil Mickelson and Sergio, and went back and forth. And, you know, that was really, really good, you know, for the game as well. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, over the years, did Jack have a rival that he, you know, kind of spat with? You know, Tiger had his share of guys. He beat that one guy with Stephen Ames, who said something about, you know, who's Tiger, or, you know, downplayed the match they were getting ready to play. And I think Tiger beat that guy 9-8 or 8-7 or something like that. You know, so, you know, it's good for the game.
Roger?
Well, does anybody really like McIlroy, though?
No.
I would say his probably immediate family ranks up there, but
Nobody on the tour.
you know, I don't know. I mean, he's pretty outspoken. You know, he's had words with, I believe Brandel Chambly got into him one time about something, and I guess he had words. I mean, you know, I don't know. He's pretty dang good, and he's won his share of tournaments and his money, and I guess he feels like he can say and do kind of what he wants. I mean, Phil Mickelson's a pretty arrogant guy. I mean, he was on tour, he had his share of comments. You know, so I mean, those guys are pretty polarizing, I mean, in terms of what they say.
Well, talking about the Chambly and the golf, we got to talk a little bit. We didn't have a chance to talk about it so far tonight, but ESPN made some dramatic changes. 33 years today.
Fired was, I think. Now, the one that got me was, you know, Tom Pelissero, which I think is he's tremendous on some of the pieces he does. But if you know, whatever, I mean, depending on what our listeners would be politically, I think ESPN is, I think the term is that I would use would be pretty woke with regard to how they run the network. You know,
Amen.
They're substantially all in on women. I mean, they have some of the worst people in sports that are on their telecast and broadcast. That Jamel Hill lady is an absolute racist. Samuel Acho was caught sleeping with whoever that lady was on the show he was with. There's people on that show that have no business having a job, and you're going to get rid of a guy like Carl Ravitch, who's been an icon for them for 33 years. That just doesn't make any sense to me. What their MO was, if you will, to lay some of these people off. I don't get it.
They didn't want to pay the salary, Roger.
Well, you know what? Carl Ravitch is a tremendous guy, and but I think John Anderson left, and he went back to the University of Missouri as a professor. And by the way, I meant to tell you, Don, that Chris Jensen and John Anderson were classmates and best friends at Mizzou in the School of Communications. So he knows John very well. And but there was another loss. He saw get out while the getting's good. But I looked tonight about they had the Thursday. I'm watching it now. Detroit and the Cubs. It's 1-1, and they've got John Shambi. He is an absolute joke to be in a network position. Hey, put him on the radio. You don't have to look at him. Okay, but he was with the Braves. He's had a lot of opportunity. He weighs about 100 pounds overweight, and his jacket wouldn't even close, and you see his gut hanging out. Not on TV, please. You got Eduardo Perez, the class act. You got whoever's there, and you had Carl Ravitch, and you're telling me you got to have John Shambi? Okay, please. I'm sorry.
Come on. Some of these, like David Ortiz is a Hall of Famer. I get it, but he barely masters the English language on a.
No, Eduardo Perez.
I'm saying David Ortiz. There's other people that work there. A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez is a total toolbox when you listen to him, but you can't. What I don't understand is you can't watch any of their segments without having a female front and present. Like they jam that up your backside, and I don't know. I just think that their whole MO is. I don't really even watch ESPN that much anymore. It used to be fun for me, but you've also discarded over the years, like, it was Keith Oberman and Brian Kenny were just insufferable, miserable wretches when now that they're not on the show anymore, they're politically charged, like leftists, if you will, when it comes to things they say and do. And I don't know. People would potentially disagree with me, but the bottom of my voter card has an R on it, and I think that's, to me, the affiliation that I agree with and support, and don't understand the other side of the coin. I just don't. I don't get it.
Well, I thought Ravitch was a real surprise. You talk about somebody that's worked 33 years for a company and just finished doing a Little League World Series, just finished doing a Monday night game. That was a real surprise to me. I thought he did a very, very professional job all the way up and down the line. Maybe there's some things that I didn't know, but that really surprised me. I'm just assuming that it had to be 33 years of salary. He must be making too much money.
It happens. Business is business. I was a head golf professional for 16 years and got canned because they brought in a new GM, and I don't know. There was never a reason given to me, but at the end of the day, sometimes good people lose, and that's unfortunate. But it's quite possible that with all the sporting networks and whatnot that are out there, that it's well, the other guy that got fired was Brian Clark. I thought he was a piece of trash too, because he said a lot of stupid stuff, and he was also pretty racist with his remarks, I think, in regard to the things that he said. So. Whatever. ESPN's ESPN. They can do what they want. They'll hire some DEI, concepts moving forward.
Well, I'm a big women's basketball fan, as you know, but I cannot watch when the NCAA women's tournament. You've got the fellow that does the play-by-play with Rebecca Lobo. okay, on all the games. Tremendous. Great team. And then you have these three women that have to be long nails. They think that they're the act. Forget the game. It's all about the three of them. And I refuse to watch any pregame, postgame, halftime.
And the clothes they don't wear.
Yeah, and the clothes they don't wear. Exactly. I mean, it's professional. It's college basketball, you know. And listen, I am a big Fox fan, okay, on Fox Sports. I think they did a fantastic job with the World Cup. I really do. I mean, the way they were able to go around and the people that they had, and I was just, you know, impressed. But I think that's why their NFL coverage is far superior to CBS. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, ESPN and ABC have the Super Bowl this coming year. First, I mean, it's on ABC, so it's on broadcast TV, but it's actually ESPN that got it. First time a cable outlet has got it. And I'm just wondering, because their contract is probably coming up now, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. You wonder whether, with their salaries, now that they've got the Super Bowl out of the way and they won't get it for 4 years or more, they could be next on the cutting block. Who knows?
Well, I'm expecting one of the Kardashians to be broadcasting the games very quickly.
There you go. Maybe they can put,
tomorrow, right?
they can put that clown that was on at halftime. But yeah, no, I mean, to your other point, Roger, I mean,
Well, you know, it's funny. It was funny you bring that up because Roy at the top of the show talked about the halftime show and you know, Fight for Soccer, and you know, first of all, whatever her name is, she didn't even sing the song. It was a record. All she did. What do you call when you mix
They have the mouth lip sync.
Yeah.
Lip sync. Yeah.
Yeah, lip sync. That's what it was. You know, I mean, the half show wasn't even, and they didn't show it all. I mean, it was. What are you talking about here? What? I can't imagine what they think this is all about.
well, the halftime show this past year, I forget what the heck that guy's, Bad Bunny or whatever, who's terrible. I didn't watch that. I watched the alternative show, which was all, you know, country music guys, which I thought was phenomenal.
I did too.
It was phenomenal. But
They got $7.5 million, right? Though.
Yeah, it was pretty well attended in terms of people that maybe some of those people were just making a point. Others, you know, obviously wanted to tune in. And I'm a big fan of country music. So that's kind of why I put the channel rather than hear and see that, you know, whatever you would call it, that was on there.
Yeah. Well, we only got a couple of minutes left in this segment. We got to get to the Ravens a little bit. We talked about the Rams a few seconds ago, about 20 minutes ago, when we talked to Mike, and I just think so much is dependent upon a quarterback and the game of football. Of course, that's been the story in Baltimore now for so many years. How do you address opening of camp in Baltimore?
I think there's a lot of excitement. I think that the installation of, you know, new head coach, new offense, new defensive coordinator, obviously a change in the guard with some of the roster maneuvers they've made. Word on the street is that Declan Doyle, their new offensive coordinator, is pretty much a human computer, and I think that there's a good rapport that's being established between him and Lamar. And you know, I think Derrick Henry's still Derrick Henry, although a lot of people wrote him off several years ago. He's had a couple of really good seasons. I think Dave Flowers is trying to include his name in some of the best wide receivers in football and probably get paid for it. I think the defense with defensive-minded head coach is going to be significantly better. I'd like to think they brought in some good pieces from a free agent standpoint, with Trey Hendrickson being able to rush the passer and some good draft picks to be able to add some depth. You know, they're going to have a difficult schedule. The conference they play in is obviously pretty good with, you know, Pittsburgh and the Bengals and the Browns aren't so much. But I think if they stay in the upright position, keep Lamar
healthy, I think they've got a really good chance to win that division and come back to the playoffs. So a lot of excitement.
Tick, tick, tock. Tick, tick, tock.
Oh, we're getting the clock. Doug, thank you so very, very much. Thanks to all our guests tonight. Roger, great to work with you again. Frank, another nice job at the controls. We'll do it all again next Wednesday night. Thank you very much to everybody. Take care, Frank.
Ladies and gentlemen, these programs are brought to you each and every night of the week in grateful appreciation to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, the men and women police and fire services. When you're out there and see somebody in uniform, please let them know you know they're there. These are very, very difficult times for law enforcement and firefighters. These programs are dedicated to those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. Patrolman Robert Anthony Carroll, Patrolman David Curtis, Patrolman Jeffrey Colcap, Patrolman Jeffrey Yazowitz, Sergeant Thomas Banger, San Diego Officer Mike Hendler, Sergeant Tom Wilson, Charlotte County Sheriff's Department, Detective Randy Bell, Detective Ricky Childress, Patrolman Charlie Conant, Tarpon Springs Police Department, Deputy Chief Mike Godwin, Philadelphia Fire Department, Lieutenant Joyce Craig Lewis, Philadelphia Fire Department, Sergeant James O'Connor, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Chris LeVake, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Mike Zerba, Newcastle County Police. Excuse me. Sergeant Chris LeVake, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, Patrolman Anafo Crispin, Lakeland PD, Deputy Josh Myers, Nassau County Sheriff's Department, Captain Matt Letourneau, Philadelphia Fire Department, Captain Chris Leach, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Arth Hope, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Jerry Ficus, Wilmington Fire Department, Chief Jimmy Ford, Wilmington Fire Department, Chief Al Hogo, Longboat Key Police Department, Deputy Mike Hargrove, Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, Trooper Chelsea Richards, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Zachary Ben, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Joe Bullock, Florida Highway Patrol, Sergeant Chris Fitzgerald, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Romain Modez, Philadelphia Police Department, Chief Corey Compantier, Buffalo Creek Fire Department, Deputy Ronnie Ronazinski, Manatee County Sheriff's Department, Patrolman Zachary Butterfield, Bradenton PD, Corporal Timothy O'Connor, Pennsylvania State Police. My brothers and sisters, although you may be 10-7 at this point in time, at some time we'll be 10-10 at the table of the Lord. Till that time, when the rose rise up to meet you, may the winds be always at your back. May the rains fall softly on your fields and the sun shine lightly on your face. Until we meet again, may the good Lord keep you and your family always in the palm of his hands. Good night. God bless and have a great day.